Watching live to Joe Malanga, a geopolitical analyst who is joining us here live on RT International. A very warm welcome to you today, sir. The Russian president announcing a new up-to-date foreign policy concept. Anything there that caught you by surprise or anything you'd like to highlight?
Not much of a surprise, but I would say from places like Africa, it's something that they have been looking forward to because it seems like Russia was a bit reserved. It was more on the back seat in terms of their foreign policy. But now it's outright, it's out there, and it's willing to give things that the West took. So that is the interesting part that is happening. Nothing much as for surprising, so to say, but it's something that most in Africa and some parts of Asia, they were looking forward to it, to finally fully have Russia backing the countries or the continent of Africa.
It's almost like some of the statements were just kind of confirming what a lot of people already suspected. I mean, the foreign minister, Joe, Sergei Lavrov, he emphasised the importance of cooperation within the BRICS alliance, which your country is a member of. And what kind of changes do you think we can expect in the bloc in the near future? I mean, I understand, Joe, it's early days yet, but it's almost like every day we're seeing new changes, particularly in your part of the world.
The interesting part is that when it comes to the currency, it's another game changer in terms of the currency world, the trade, the business. Russia business delegation are in South Africa having conversations on how the future is going to look like, of which everyone is excited because they've always looked into one direction for the past 400 years. So finally, there's a change. And also, there is a warm feeling whereby Russia treats other countries, especially in African countries, as partners, whereas opposed to the Western countries who will come and dictate to them what they should do. Blinken was here, the Treasury lady was here, Kamala Harris is here to try and shift to want to make Africa remain in the hands of the West, and of which that time is up.
Yeah, it's interesting that. Yeah. I think you raised a very, very good point, Joe. And you know, when we had, was it Janet Yellen, the US Treasury Secretary, she was doing a quick whirlwind tour of Africa recently, and it all looked really rosy and glossy with smiles for the big cameras. But we later found out that she was essentially demanding that African countries condemn Russia and sever their ties with Russia. Tell me this, what does the average African person think about that, being told what to do by the US Treasury Secretary?
You know, the new breed of African leaders that are here, they are wide awake. It's the older generation that used to follow orders from what the West will say, because they will dictate to them what they should do. They will expose them on the things that were done, like giving them monies, sending their calls into those overseas universities, many other underhand dealings that were happening. But now, and at that particular time, those leaders were not even aware that they could run to the East for help. So we were well aware that Blinken came, and then the Treasury lady came to say, you will get the money. For example, like the new Green Deal. No, Africa must stop using coal, must doing this now, they must look to EU. No, it can't happen any longer because there's no real benefit except that Africa must keep on feeding the Western countries. So I think people have gone, they've now educated, they've gone through a lot in order to now shift their focus to the East, and of which they see the real benefit, the treatment that they're getting from Russia. It's a treatment that is different from what they get from the East. There's no force, hence Russia or Sergei Lavrov. He uses this word partners. It makes the head of state in Africa feel important, so to say.
You wrote some really, really good points, Joe. It's so good to have you on the programme to shoot straight like this. It's interesting what you mentioned, how you said that, you know, that the previous generation of leaders on the African continent, perhaps they were the unwitting victims of what some people call suitcase cash diplomacy. But now you're saying that this new generation of leaders are really woke. They've woken up and they like the idea of a partnership with Russia. Let me ask you this, if I may, Joe. America has said that Russia has been isolated by the world. A lot of people may disagree with that. Let me ask you this. Has Russia, I mean, does Africa think Russia has been isolated, do you think?
Rory, the West believe they are the world. So, and if the West believe they are the world, to us, the world is everywhere. And it's everywhere where we get treated as partners. So that statement, we've been hearing it for Zelensky said it, Blinken said it, their president is saying it, Pentagon is saying the statement, CIA, FBI, whoever in the West, they are saying that, but it's not the reality. The reality in their face, the world is between the Western governments. They don't care about Africa and Asia. So to us, it's a bit offensive in Africa to say Russia is isolated, meaning they can't count the states that are in good terms with Russia. So you're not counted. So you can only be counted if you denounce Russia, because that's what they've been trying to achieve. They tried that with money. They tried that with threats. Now, how many countries are they going to take to war if they want to do that? They can't even, they will exhaust their military that is already exhausted. Yeah, so it's completely unfounded. It's completely not true. They believe that the West, it must be New York and London or somewhere Paris or Belgium. To them, that's the world, according to them.
Yeah, and so Joe, but I just want to jump in if I may, because you talk about reality versus narratives, for example. I mean, Russia has been, of course, a part of the Ukraine Black Sea grain deal, trying to get grains to the parts of the world that need it the most. And as you know from here on RT, we've been reporting it that most of the grain goes to Europe and other countries, not the developing nations and not the countries that need it the most. Meantime, Putin has said, you know what, Africa, you can have our grain for free. You can have our cargo ships for free. And what did the West say, Joe? The West said nothing. Why do you think they said nothing about that?
It's because the boogeyman that they've created in their world, in their minds, it's now coming into the savior. The boogeyman that they've created for all these years, it's now changing. The narrative, the reality is coming into play. So people are starting to see Russia for what it is, rather than the Russian that was only explained in the view of Hollywood and Pentagon and Washington, D.C. So now the reality, people are starting to understand that people want to learn Russian. In Central African Republic, they are now learning Russian because it's things that they were told that, no, you can't learn Russian. This is the most dangerous people. So the West, it's not going to like that. And we are expecting tactics. We are expecting dirty tricks. We are expecting people getting arrested. We are expecting wars. We are expecting the jackals to attack some of the leaders, to attack some of the countries that are now shifting away from the dollar, shifting away from US, shifting away from EU. So it will be happening. We are prepared for it. We will see it happening. But Russia, it's not here to dominate. It's here to create partnership and cooperation with African countries.
Yeah, Joe, and this is something that Vladimir Putin and Sergei Lavrov were both saying just now that we heard it live here on RT as they were discussing the new foreign policy strategy and essentially saying that partnerships are the way forward and that countries must be allowed to be sovereign and have their independence respected. Joe Malunga, a geopolitical analyst, joining us live on RT International. Great to have you on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.